Today, I'm going to teach you how to make this Derpy Pikachu. Quick thing though, I am not an artist. This is just me messing around and seeing what I could do. So if you really enjoy this, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, because if it is something you like, I will try to teach you how to make a couple other Pokemon, because it is kind of fun for me. I just like doing it on the side when I have some time, but let's get into this. Alright, so to start off, I get a 2000 by 2000 pixel square grid, and then I draw an oval. As you can tell, I make the face kind of elongated on purpose because I personally like how that looks when it comes to the derpy look. Next, I try to get the ears. I'm really bad at drawing, so what I use is, depending on your application, corrective kind of strokes, and that kind of fixes the shape of the ear. I then make a mirror image of it and copy it down, and then I kind of rotate a little bit so that way it doesn't look like it's just a straight up mirror image. And you can of course fix it up a little bit by just erasing the bottoms, as you'll see here in a second, for the right ear, and that way it just looks like it blends in perfectly. Next, I make the stroke for the ears because you know Pikachu has the black tips for his ears. After that, I put on a grid for his face, so that way I can put the eyes in a relatively similar position, and I know where to put the mouth. Keep in mind, each of these things is its own layer, so that way if I mess up, it's easy to erase. So now we've got the derpy face going. I think Pikachu's face looks good. Of course, we'll add the red cheeks later on. Next is the body. So this is where I kind of like to fine tune it some. Usually it's just a U, some form of a U. And I generally like to mess around until I feel like the shape looks pretty good. I try to go for about the same size as the head, and then from there we put on the arms. This is usually just triangles or, a V, a sideways V. It just kind of depends on how you like it. I like to keep the arms pretty small. From there, the boot, it's just pretty much as if you're making it a lowercase b, and you just stop before you reach all the way. You kind of frame it, and then you erase the part of the body that overlaps with the foot, as you see right here. So the feet, arms, all that is pretty simple to do. So far we haven't done anything super complicated. Next up we have the tail, which I also kind of struggle with because I don't know, I have this weird thing where I just can't get the tail to look perfect. And I'm a perfectionist usually, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I just went with what I could do. So here I'm just making straight lines to make kind of a zigzag pattern for one side of the tail to start off. As you can see, I'm only doing a couple strokes for the tail, trying to mimic as close to how Pikachu's tail looks like. It's nothing too complicated, but then usually when I make the other half of the tail is where I struggle to make sure the sizing looks appropriate. I would recommend just copying this exactly as I do it, or, of course, tweaking it as you will. If you are struggling though, copying is usually the easiest way to go for this. And of course, you can adjust the lines after you draw them, depending on which application you use, just to make sure that you get it right where you want it. Then you add a little kind of upside down U or a little arc to put for the tail, because he has a little brown tail piece as well. Next, I'm filling in the ear tips because, well, it's time to do it. We've pretty much finished our Pikachu design. At this point, it's just a matter of adding the details. So you might notice I'm not using exactly a black color. I'm actually using a slightly brownish color. And then you'll see I also just pulled up Pikachu a second ago, and that's to get the exact color of the cheeks. And then I just put a dot down for both the cheeks. And I try to kind of line it up as best as I can so it's relatively even on both sides. But sometimes that can be a little tricky for me as well. Next up, I pull a Pikachu and get the rest of the colors, so the brown for the tail and the yellow for the body. I will note for the tail though, the brown is exactly the same, but the yellow for the body is a slightly lighter yellow. I don't really like the really saturated yellow that he usually has. Next, I put a blue background, and then I just put a couple polka dots down just to kind of add a little flair to it. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I know that was a really quick tutorial. I didn't go into a ton of detail because I wanted to see if this was actually something you guys liked. If this was something that you guys found helpful and would like a more in-depth video for, let me know, because I am definitely more than willing to make a longer, more detailed video. but I wanted to make sure this was something you guys were interested in. If you're interested in seeing the other art that I've done, you can check out my TikTok, my YouTube, as well as my Instagram. I have posts for all of them, so you can take a look at what the art looks like. And you just let me know if you want me to go into detail for any of those, or in more detail for this Pikachu drawing as well. Remember, like, subscribe, and I'll see y'all next time.